Hi everybody, this is Sniper69 here, and today I'll be bringing you a guide on some of the things that you should think about when you're purchasing a premium ship for World of Warships. Um, you know, Purchasing a premium ship can be quite expensive. It's not a cheap thing to do, and it does show your commitment to the game because it is, after all, a free-to-play game. And when you do make your purchase, it is an investment, and it's good to spend some time thinking about what you're buying and how it'll help you in terms of playing this game. So I'll be going through some of the reasons why you should buy a premium ship, and when exactly you should purchase one, and some recommendations at the end. So firstly, what are some reasons to purchase a premium ship? Now, I've thought about it and I've realized that, for me, there's only four main reasons to buy a ship. The first reason is for historical reasons. So in particular, historical ships, which a lot of people don't tend to think very positively of. So for example, the Prince Eugen and the Mutsu. These are quite historical ships, but a lot of people don't particularly like playing them. As well as unique ships, or ships which have quite unique abilities or setups or configurations. So for example, the Harikaze is probably the most unique ship in the game, considering that it has 3 hull loadouts which can change its primary armament. So those, if you're buying ships for that reason, I can't really help you with that, because it's basically your personal preference. Following on, there are 3 other reasons to purchase premium ship. So for friends and fun, to earn credits, and for grinding, and for ranked gameplay or team battles, which I'll be going through in just a moment. This is because it's also important to realize when you should buy a premium ship. I can tell you a lot of players are quite annoyed when new players who aren't too experienced buy a premium vessel, end up in high tier matchmaking and don't contribute as much as people would expect. For example, some ships are quite competitive, they're very strong. So for example, the Belfast, the Scharnhorst, the Turbits, any premium CV, people have expectations of these vehicles, or these ships. And when you're, especially as a new player, and you're inexperienced in these vessels, it can be quite frustrating for your team, who expect certain things from you. So that's why I recommend that you only buy a premium ship after you've invested a bit of time into the game, roughly about 1,000 games, and you've hit tier 7 in a few different lines. So you can have a tier 7 destroyer and a tier 6 cruiser maybe, and a tier 7 battleship or 2, and you might have a tier 6 CV or something, and you've got a bit of experience under your belt. Because once you have that experience, it makes it a lot easier for you to make a decision about what kind of premiums you like, well, what type of ships you like, sorry, and then from there, what type of premium you'd like to purchase. There is one caveat to that rule, and that's especially if the ship is only available for a limited time, and people have across the board said that's a very strong ship. So for example, the Scharnhorst, Belfast, and Saipan on initial release were all considered to be very strong ships, and there was quite a lot of delay in terms of being able to repurchase these ships. Fortunately, all 3 ships are now available permanently on the stores, and I guess in some tech trees in other servers. The other notable exception is also the Kamikaze, which was on resale earlier this year and is now completely unavailable. So if you missed out on the Kamikaze, it's a bit unfortunate there. So now that caveat is out of the way, let's go back to some of the reasons about why you'd like to purchase a premium ship. So the first reason, first significant reason, I guess, is for if your friends have told you to buy a certain vessel and to play together, and you want to have some fun. In that case, you can buy whatever you want. It's your money; you can do whatever you want. But before you make any purchase, in real life or in game, you need to do some research, and it's important that you see. Unfortunately, in World of Warships, you can't test vehicles, you can't trial vehicles, and the only way for you to see what the vehicle, how the ship performs, is by actually watching some replay. So you can watch some replays from YouTubers or on streamers. The only exception thing that you have to watch out for is watching the gameplay of very highly skilled individuals. So for example, watching Flamu or Erun, you need to understand that these players are very good, and they can take any ship to the absolute limit and perform exceptionally well in them. So just because they do well in a ship doesn't mean that you'll do well. The other thing to do is also to read some guides about some of the more smaller nuances in the ship, things, stuff by Little White Mouse are quite in depth, and very helpful in terms of giving you some background information before you watch a replay and you see some of those issues in action. This is also the only other reason why I'd ever recommend anyone to purchase a premium CV, straight off the bat. Because when you're playing with friends and you have a division who supports you, playing a CV becomes a lot easier. So if you decide, I'm gonna buy a Saipan and a Kaga, and you're only ever gonna play them with your friends who are gonna bring, an AA Gneisenau and an AA Belfast, or a Sims with defensive fire, or if you're gonna only play your Enterprise or upcoming Graf Zeppelin, when your friends are bringing out their North Carolina or Alabama, then by all means, you can buy a premium CV and you can just stomp with it. The reason why I don't recommend buying premium CVs, except unless you're a CV main, in that case of course buy your premium CV. But if you're not a premium, if you're not a CV main, and you're not very experienced, please do not buy a premium CV. I know you're trying to have fun and whatnot, but when you're basically incompetent, it's not fun for the 11 other players on your team, and it's also not particularly fun to lose. So I'm not too sure how people get enjoyment from performing poorly every single game in their premium CV, getting absolutely smashed by the other the competent opponent. Unless you pick up the slack, I wouldn't recommend buying a premium CV straight off the bat for any particular reason. And next comes the most interesting bit probably in this video. So for credits and grinding. This is probably the most personal reason to purchase a premium ship. To help you with your grinding, to help with earning credits. And the way to decide what premium ship to buy is by looking at your stats. Not your damage and win rate, but more closely at what ships you're playing, what tiers, and what nations. So just looking at my stats on a website like Warships today, I can see that I play across all my 5,000 odd games. 34% of my games are in battleships, 47% of my games are in cruisers, 17% of my games are in destroyers, and only 3% are in carriers. And then if you look at my ship nations, 36% of my games are in Japanese vessels, 29 are in German, 21 are in American, 8% is only Russian ships. My UK or British ships are only 4%, and the other nations are just minuscule. So from that information, it's quite clear that I would prefer a Japanese cruiser, followed by a German cruiser and an American cruiser. I'd also want a Japanese battleship, a German battleship, or an American battleship, and I might be interested in a Japanese, German, or American destroyer. But considering that I only play 3% of games in a carrier, so literally in my 1,500, sorry, not 1,500, in my 5,000 games of World of Warships, I've literally only played about 150 to 200 games in a carrier, and I don't think that's enough to make an investment into a premium carrier when I'm not going to be playing it. Whereas if investing in, say, a German battleship like the Scharnhorst or Tirpitz, you can see I've got over 300 battles in the Tirpitz, right? I absolutely love the ship, and that's way more beneficial for me. And say buying buying high tier cruisers, so the Kutuzov, the Otago, the Belfast, they're all a lot more suited to me. Whereas someone else might find that buying more destroyers because they play 60% of their games are in Japanese destroyers, and by all means, the Harikaze, the Kamikaze are probably good choices for you. Whereas, say, you love American carriers, like you've got 80% American, carriers, and 80% American games, American ships, then the Enterprise, the Saipan are very good options for you. So, this is probably the most important aspect of buying a premium ship. A lot of people just go out there and go, oh, Flamouche said the Scharnhorst is really strong, or Erun said that the Belfast is OP. Yes, that might be true. Especially if you're playing at a competitive level, but for you, it may not be that suitable. because if you're a BB main, or there's no point in you buying a cruiser, especially a very squishy cruiser like the Belfast, which is not as tanky as a battleship, right? And there's no point, say, as a cruiser main, of buying a battleship, of investing in a battleship line where you don't have any other battleships. So, say you've never played German battleships before, there's no point in you buying a Scharnhorst or Tirpitz. Yes, they could be fun, but if you're playing for competitive reasons, you don't have a 19-point or 15-point German captain to stick in your shiny new Scharnhorst or shiny new Tirpitz. So it's also important to think about what ships you're playing and what nations, and also what tiers. So personally for me, generally across the board, the average tier of my games has been increasing over the last year and a half. That's natural. You'd expect that the average tier of your ships to increase as you progress down lines. However, for me, it's reached a certain point where I'm no longer playing any more tier 6 games. I've actually unlocked all the tier 6s, and I'm now currently grinding tier 7s. So for me, there's no real interest in playing tier 6 or lower ships, except for maybe the Shinanomi every now and then. So that's another aspect of what you should look into. So buying premiums of a tier that you're happy to play. So personally, I enjoy playing tier 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'll be interested in tier 7, 8, 9, 10 premiums. I do have the free experience to buy the Missouri, and I'm waiting for possibly the Musashi, because I'm just waiting to dump 1.1 or 1.2 million free XP on that if that ever comes out. So the other aspect of buying a premium ship is also the credits and grinding aspect of it. So in terms of grinding credits, the best ship without a doubt is the Missouri. Since it's tier 9, gets the tier 9 premium bonus plus the camo and you get like 100% bonus experience with the camo. So without a doubt, if you're looking for an American high tier premium, don't buy the Alabama. That's a waste of money. Buy the Missouri. It's better, right? It's better because it's faster. It's more you can argue that's slightly better armored, especially now that they've reduced the Citadel size. It has radar. Its guns are so accurate, especially because it gets the third module, which reduces the accuracy, which reduces the dispersion by 11, like a further 11%. So that's that's the kind of research that you should do when you're purchasing a premium ship. And finally, probably the most controversial reason for buying a premium ship, and that's for ranked. And every season of ranked, Wargaming has re-released the premiums of that tier. So infamously, the last season of ranked, which is at tier 7, Wargaming pretty much across all servers re-released the Belfast. And I don't know how many sales, how many millions they would have made from people just buying the Belfast thinking that it's OP. So in ranked for tier 6, 7, 8, I've made a small list of ships which are considered overpowered or quite strong for its tier. For tier 6, you have the Arizona Warspite, the Shinanomi, which is a reward ship, the Anshan and Gallant. I've personally found the Warspite to be quite strong, very accurate, and the Shinanomi as a reward ship is also quite fun. The notable exception I have there is the Arizona, because personally I don't like the American battleships at tier 6. They're very slow. I didn't particularly find them to be quite accurate or anything. So some people live by the Arizona. I can't. At tier 7 we have the Saipan, the Belfast, Scharnhorst, Sims, and Flint. The Saipan is the only CB I'd ever really recommend at this point in time, because it has the tier 9 planes at tier 7, which is blatantly OP. And since then, Wargaming has not released a single premium which has fighters or planes of a higher tier. So the Enterprise and the Kaga all have planes which are one tier lower, and the upcoming Graf Zeppelin unfortunately has tier 8 planes, but for some reason they're weaker than like every other tier 8 plane, like the fighters, and the torpedo bombers just die to like measly anti-air, like weak anti-air. So that's a bit like but anyway, the Belfast, the only reason why the Belfast is considered so strong is because it has the HE, the smoke, and the radar. If it was missing any one of those things, I think the Belfast wouldn't be as strong as people think. The Scharnhorst is pretty interesting because it's very good at killing cruisers, and in ranked, I personally enjoyed it in ranked because it's very well armored. It doesn't seem to take the IFAG damage from a Belfast or Shores or whatever as a Nagato or Colorado would do. The Sims is considered OP in ranked, not because the Sims in itself is particularly strong. It is actually quite strong. It's actually quite stealthy, but mainly because of the XP multiplier. The Sims has an inbuilt XP multiplier, which makes getting not rank one, getting first place a lot easier. First place and keeping your star a lot easier than playing other ships. And finally, the Flint as a reward ship is also very strong. It's basically an Atlanta with DD smoke, but no radar. And at tier 8, probably the most strong ships at tier 8 are the Kutuzov and Loyang. Both are smoke ships. The Kutuzov with IFHE now is most people consider a monster. The Loyang is ridiculously strong. It's basically a Sea Hull Benson, which swaps the speed boost with now Hydro. And this is no ordinary Hydro. This is better than German Hydro at tier 8. For some reason, they couldn't handle the Z23 having normal German Hydro, so they nerfed it. But they were happy to give it to the Loyang. That's wargaming balance, I guess. The other notable premium at tier 8 is the Atago. Personally, I love the Atago, and I think it's probably the strongest cruiser at tier 8 because it has the heal. Its only weakness is anti-air. But a full concealment Atago is a very scary ship. You're able to launch 16 torpedoes. You have forward-firing torpedoes. Your HE is very strong. The ship is quite maneuverable, quite nimble, and is an absolute menace if played properly. So these are my ranked, recommendations of ships which you may want to consider to purchase. These aren't my recommendations. These are just the ships which people have considered to be quite strong for ranked or team battles. I would expect that some people have put the Alabama possibly as well, but I haven't seen any competitive gameplay recently. I'm not too sure if clans are running the Alabama as opposed to the North Carolina. North Carolina is a bit more accurate, but the Alabama does have a torpedo belt, like a better like Yamato level torpedo belt to help reduce the damage and flooding it takes from the chance of flooding from torpedoes. But unfortunately, I haven't seen enough ranked and team battle gameplay at tier 8 to comment on that. Because otherwise, the North Carolina / Alabama are quite okay ships. And finally, my recommendations for premium ships. So for tier 5, I recommend the Kamikaze clones. The Kamikaze R, and the Fujin. Not because they're particularly good ships, but because they're very good at clubbing. They're very good at killing people. The torpedoes are phenomenal. And unfortunately, after Wargaming decided to nerf Japanese torpedoes, these are pretty much the only torpedo boat. It's unfortunate, but the premiums are the only ones which are very fun and consistent. Very fun to play and consistently do. Are consistently fun to play. They're not hit and miss. They're just so much fun because the torpedoes are so fast, they're so deadly, and they just land because they're so quick. And the Kamikaze itself has very good concealment. At tier 6, you have the Shinanomi, which is a reward ship. I won't talk too much about that. For tier 7, everyone would consider I personally consider the Belfast to be quite strong. I don't enjoy playing it too much, to be honest. But the Scharnhorst, the Bliskowica, and the Atlanta are my personal recommendations. The Scharnhorst is just a very tanky, very punchy battleship. Has a fast rate of fire, has fast turret traverse, has torpedoes, is very well armored. It has the highest speed at tier 7 except for the hood. I think the hood's 2 knots faster, but the hood is shit, so we won't talk about that. The Blisko is a fantastic little DD. It's not particularly good at any one thing, but it's kind of good at everything. So it doesn't have the best torpedoes at tier 7, but it has good torpedoes. It doesn't have the best guns at tier 7 because they're only 120mm, but the gun arcs are really, really good. And the turret traverse is a bit odd. It's a bit slow, unfortunately. It doesn't have the best concealment, but it is a good, it's a very somewhat stealthy ship and has very high HP for its tier. And just all around a very fantastic ship. It's speedy. It has torpedoes. It has it has decent guns. Its smoke is okay. It's like an average smoke for tier 7. And finally, the Atlanta. The Atlanta is not a particularly strong ship, but it's a very fun ship. That's the thing. It's very fun. You just gotta pew, 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 shoot all your guns, daka. You're pretty much immune to all planes at from tier 5 to tier 9. Like no CV like wants to strike an Atlanta because it's kind of stupid. Like the Atlanta has defensive fire, its AA is phenomenal, and also you have the Flint, which is basically a better Atlanta. I think I think probably more versatile Atlanta because it has the smoke. At tier 8, you have the Atago and Kutuzov. I personally recommend the Tirpitz, because I enjoy German battleships. I find it to be very fun, being able to go in your face, kill something, go even more in your face, launch torpedoes, and like not die, like say an Amagi or North Carolina, because you've exposed your broadside. And finally, at tier 9, I recommend the Missouri and the Black. So the Black is a reward ship again for reaching rank 1 5 times. Good luck with that. Even I haven't got rank 1 once because I couldn't be bothered playing it. But I do have enough free XP for the Missouri. I've got pretty much a fully unlocked, fully researched, like unlocked Iowa, and I'm enjoying the ship. So I'm probably going to buy the Missouri sometime down the track. Personally, I'd rather wait for the Musashi. Please, Wargaming, please, Musashi, tier 10 Japanese battleship. But until that happens, I'm gonna just, until they flat out deny the Musashi, I'm just gonna sit on my free XP and just wait. So thanks for watching, guys. Those are my recommendations for premium ships, and a brief guide about some of the things that you should do before you decide to go all out and invest in a premium vessel. Because after all, it is your money, and whenever you do spend your money, you should do some research, whether in real life or in game or any other game. And it's also quite important to reflect on yourself and see what works for you. Decide, look at your own stats. Don't stress too much about your win rate and your average damage. Look more closely at what ships you're playing, either DDs, cruisers, battleships, CVs. Look at what tiers you're playing, if you're playing high tiers, mid tiers, low tiers, and look at what nations you're playing. So that's all for this video. Thanks for watching. Please hit like and subscribe, and also please do give some feedback so that I can make my future videos better. So until next time, thanks for watching.